We had a landlord who was trying to tell us that he wanted to view the property every 4 weeks. That's not going to happen because that's a hindrance to me. That's a hindrance to the tenants in there.
Remind them that the whole reason for you being in there is to make it hands off for them.
There are so many things that we pay for behind the scenes that you would not even imagine. Number one, everything should be by writing. And never have phone calls. How many people I've met at networking events who've been like, I want to get started this year. I meet them next year at the same flipping meeting and they haven't started anything.
What would you say is like the lowest point of this entrepreneurial journey?
Welcome to the Property Project podcast, where we talk all things property, but also help you to resolve some of the dilemmas that you come up with.
But before you do that, we'd love if you could help us by liking the video, subscribing to our channel so you could get more content from us.
Okay, so partnering with the wrong landlord in rent-to-rent. I signed a rent-to-rent contract with a landlord who seemed reliable at first, but now they're difficult to communicate with, making constant demands and not fulfilling their responsibilities on maintenance. How do I handle this situation and prevent it from happening again?
I feel like a lot of these dilemmas are actually hitting close to home.
Yeah, they
Did you write
definitely
these? Did you send these
It was
in?
me. It was I. It was I.
I don't know. Yeah, like, because each of these we can relate to it so easily.
For sure. I feel like I like this question a lot because I feel like it's something that's actually not spoken about. How to manage your landlord.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't actually think there's ever been a course on it. I don't think there's ever been speeches on it. I don't think there's ever been content on it. Like, it's actually really
they always
important.
talk about when it comes to the landlord, like the way, like how you convince a landlord to get on board. But it's, as you said, like there's nothing on how to navigate around difficult landlords that have said yes initially, and then you have to now deal with them because now you're in a contract and then they're not playing ball. So what can you do?
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking.
You just thinking.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like with this situation, it's like one of two ways and it depends what you want from it. If you want to stay in the contract because it's bringing you money and it's a really good deal still, but the issue is just the landlord, I would really not feel bad about making your demands very, very clear. I had a landlord who was doing the same thing. I know you know who I'm talking about. And it was just ridiculous. It's like almost, and we can't forget because for this landlord, it was valid. He's clearly a very anxious landlord, right? And sometimes you get that. Sometimes you get somebody who's really protective of their home. They've spent so much money on it. They also don't know you as a person. You've managed to convince them to get their home. Even though they've never done this strategy before.
Even though they said yes to you, you probably left, or once you signed the contract, they probably thought, I've made a big mistake.
Yeah, exactly,
You know
exactly. And now they're in this. So they're now really overprotective of their home. And that's what really comes with a lot of like this, like making demands or making sure that you do this and the other. And I actually spoke to a friend of mine as well who's going through a very similar thing. And unfortunately, is going to have to give back her service accommodation because of this. But I feel like when you're in a contract like this, you need to be so confident that you make whatever demands you want to make. Like, I'm not being funny. I had to shut down this landlord and say, hello, did you get your money last month? Yes. Have you had any complaints from the neighbours? No. Have I been consistent in communication with you? Yes. If all these things that you said you want are in play, what is your problem? You
basically have to highlight the fact that they've been winning on all fronts up until, well, not even up until now, but like they've been winning on all fronts.
But not even
so
just
now
winning.
that
like the things that I've promised you, sorry to even cut you, but the things that I've promised you are being delivered.
Yeah, that's
so
what
is
I'm
it
saying.
That's making you?
So now that you're now being called into action for one thing, although all other 5 other things have been on our side have been delivered and to you, now you need to fulfill anything that's on your end.
Yeah,
you actually can't chat rubbish.
Yeah, so I feel like there's two parts to it. If the first part is that when they're making demands or like wanting to do things, like we had a landlord who was trying to tell us that he wanted to view the property every 4 weeks. That's not going to happen because that's a hindrance to me. That's a hindrance to the tenants in there. And I just can't get the job done. I don't have time in my schedule to accommodate you every single time you want to view the property.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. Although they are allowed to have access to the property, you wouldn't be doing that with a normal tenant. So why would you be doing that with us?
And you also need to remind them that the whole reason for you being in there is to make it hands off for them.
Yeah,
so
of
why
course.
do they want to be
Of course.
You know what I mean?
But I literally just had to be very clear. And I just sent a long message and I asked ChatGPT to help me word it in a professional way.
Best friend.
Use ChatGPT, honestly. it's so helpful because I had an attitude about the way in which I felt we were being treated. And when I feel like we're being treated a certain way, the protectiveness comes out of me, and I was like, "You're not going to talk to us like that." So I had to use ChatGPT to make it very professional. But literally laid out the law, like it's in our contract that this, that, and the other is in there, and you got to trust that we're going to deliver on it. Is there anything that we haven't delivered on that we said we were going to deliver on? No. So therefore, there's no reason for you to be acting in this way. He calmed down on that. Then we had another situation of he needed to pay for something. So we had paid for so many things in that house that he was like, so much so when it came down to like the doors not being fixed from the previous tenants. So the door was like, if there's a fire, it's hard for the tenants. Like they will be pushing out the door, the front door, in order
They
to get
have
out.
to do it with excessive
Force. Like, and you know, in a fire, you don't have time to be doing that. The door needs to just open easily. And we were like, that needs to be fixed. And he said, well, the other tenants didn't complain about it. It doesn't matter if the other tenants didn't complain about it. It's a safety hazard. We are complaining about it. And we're telling you it's not safe for the door to be that way. So it's things like that when you have landlords who are going to challenge you because they have to spend an extra dime, but it's your home. You are benefiting from this rent coming to you every month. But the only way that that's going to be successful is if you also do your part as a landlord. And I had to tell him, listen, there are so many things that we pay for behind the scenes that you would not even imagine. Like the cleaners that we have in bi-weekly, the little maintenance costs of like the shower stops working, or you know, the toilet flush is not flushing strong enough, or the gardener needs to come. There's so many things that we pay for behind the scene that if you have to pay once every 4 months to get things sorted because it's a structural issue, you should not complain about that. And he tried this little thing of, because we'd asked him to pay for the shower because the pipe underneath the bath had burst, or some sort of issue with the piping had happened. He then was kicking up a fuss and was like, well, if that's happening now, I need to see the property. And it was almost like a spiteful thing rather than
Like,
I want
I
to
need
check
to go
in.
and see.
Yeah. So I had to deliver this to him. Like, okay, cool. You are more. Let's put in a date for you to come and see the property. That's not a problem. But I want you to know that if you're gonna have this attitude every time we are raising a situation, you're going to also have a problem with us meeting you halfway, because a lot of the things that you should have paid for, we've paid for. So I feel like in this situation, the best thing that I can advise, because I feel like more so I tend to deal with a lot of the landlords that we work with, just because it's purely more so admin stuff. I would say that if you're finding it difficult to communicate, number one, everything should be by writing. And never have phone calls without summing up what those calls have said or what you've all said on the calls.
They will always flip what you said.
They're always. I mean, we've had landlords who speak to Sean, then speak to me, and then tell Sean that I've said something and tell me that Sean has said something, which is untrue.
Yeah.
So, and they don't even know I've been sometimes behind, like in the conversation on the side, just not engaging in the conversation with Sean, and they'll come back and tell me that something else has been said. Like, you know, you're going to have landlords like that because they want to protect themselves. And that's natural. That's human nature. So you're going to want to have everything in writing, number one. When they're making the constant demands, make sure you are referring to your contract. Your contract is there to protect you. So if you're having unnecessary demands, like they're asking you to pay for things that they know they should be paying for, reel up the contract and tell them, this is not what's supposed to be happening. This is what it says in clause 2B, whatever. And just follow up on that.
That's why your contract needs to be airtight.
Exactly.
Airtight.
And then if they're also not fulfilling their responsibilities with maintenance, I feel like a conversation about the rent needs to be discussed. So if you're not going to fulfill your side of maintenance, I'm happy to take that on, but this is what the reduced cost of rent is going to be. If not, I cannot continue with this deal. Don't be afraid to let go, guys. Like, it might be making you good money, but what is the good money if it's causing you hassle?
Also, as well, I think that you always have the upper hand because they're expecting rent from you every month. If it comes to a point where it's like you actually feel like this needs to be paid, you can always deduct it from the rent.
Yeah, that's what we've done. But we always communicate that. Don't just do it and not communicate. Don't just do it.
You
and again, this is where you've got to come with conviction, because I will say, hey, landlord, we've paid £800 towards this. We did mention this month, last month, and the month before, and there hasn't been anything that's come of it. So what we've done is we've taken action with that to make sure that there's not a further issue that comes about from this, and we've actually going to be deducting it from the rent this month. They're going to say to you, whatever they want to say, but you've told them now, you've been clear. I don't really care. So that's what we would kind of say. But don't just be withholding money. Always pay your rent on time. Like, you don't want to ever be in the situation where they could slightly have the upper hand because you haven't done something in spite of what they haven't done themselves. So just try and push forward with making sure you're always right on your side, but challenging the things that they are saying on their side.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, as I always say, hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah. So
And that kind of links into the highs and lows of
entrepreneurship.
yeah, like again, just having sometimes the difficulty of communicating with people and your expectations of how it's going to be within the business. So it's quite interesting to move into that.
Yeah.
In
definitely.
terms of yourself, what were some of the highs that were, obviously we've been on quite a few training programs and mentorships. In terms of the highs that were communicated to you from the mentors, what did you kind of take on board and then realize actually this is not as it is described, or even actually, yeah, I've actually experienced this myself and I was told that this was going to happen in my business, and I've actually experienced that, and that's actually been really helpful to know.
I think initially when I thought about entrepreneurship, I thought, it was going to be this whole glamorous thing of I can do what I want. I can set my own hours. I can, go into Starbucks with my laptop and work from there and stuff like that. And it's like, that's not always the case. It's like, you're not always doing what you want. A lot of the time you're doing what you actually don't want to, but you have to deal with. And that was quickly apparent to me, like, especially when we started. And I realized, again, with work-life balance, when we spoke about it on one of the other episodes, that we was working up until 11 p.m. And it's not just something that you could be like, all right, yeah, I'm going to stop and close my laptop. It's things that actually needed to be done because it needs to either have an answer or have some kind of progression by the start of play the next day. Do you know what I mean? So that's definitely something that for me, obviously I'm used to working long hours. I'm used to working hard and doing whatever. But I think kind of just adjusting to the fact that I'm even working harder on my own entrepreneurial business or on my entrepreneurial journey, but like, am I seeing any progression from that? But again, or am I seeing any kind of like success from it? But I think the success was when I started to think about the fact that if I'm going to work this hard, I would always rather work this hard on something that's going to benefit me or something that's going to benefit my business. Do you know what I mean? Rather than sacrificing all these hours and time to a corporation that if I drop dead tomorrow, they will replace me. Do you know what I mean? So again, like with the business, it's like, yeah, I don't mind working hard. I'm not shy of working hard. It's just about who you're working hard for and who it's going to benefit in the long run as well.
Yeah. I think for me, what we were told at the start is how much money we would make and how quickly, how fast. I don't know if you feel the same. I feel like we were told that like a lot that we were going to make money very quick and we'd be able to quit our jobs in 6 months, and that we just need to get 9 2K properties and we would survive that, and this would be like, I just feel like had I'd known, I think I would have paced myself a little bit more with the learning. And in terms of how much we spent on the learning,
I think with that, I was always kind of skeptical, which is why that's just my nature, like to be like, are you sure? There's no evidence of this or whatever. But then the amount of times that we were being told this, I started to drink the Kool-Aid a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And I started to actually buy into it. So I do get what you're saying. Like if someone repeats something that you jump on this course and you're gonna make thousands of pounds straight away, or like one thing that always just baffles me is like, even when they start to bring in what do you call it when you case studies, they bring in case studies and they'll be like, this property made 42,000 in a year. But then I started to think, how long's it been running?
Yeah.
Oh, they haven't listed yet.
Yeah.
So you're telling me basically it's projected numbers, it's estimations. So I quickly started to realize that a lot of what people are saying, even when they state it as fact, is still just projections and understanding certain words that people put in. Do you know what I mean? So that's one thing I kind of had to learn.
One thing as well that I think is interesting, I think on two different sides, like it can really work in your favor, it can work against you, is people talking about like misusing words. So I always see in people's bios like they're controlling X million amount of properties.
Yeah.
And all that means in the bio is that they don't own the properties, but they are controlling it on a rent-to-rent basis. So they've now added their portfolio together to say, for example, the house, one of the 4 beds we have might be worth 500k, then the 3 bed might be worth 300k, and I've added that together, and now I've got 800k worth of properties. And so people are now cleverly changing words, which mean they're not lying. So, for example, they are controlling that much, that worth of properties, but it's so easy if you're out of that world coming into it to believe that that's what they own.
You'd be like, oh my gosh, like what 2.1
million, like that's how much you're. So I feel like it's a really creative way. Don't get me wrong, I actually don't think it's bad or good. I think it's just depending on the way you use it, because it can confuse people or make people have a false narrative of what's going on.
Has that ever made you feel or wonder what if we was to do that, how much it would?
Yes and no, because for me, I like to focus on real money.
Yeah, money that
money that's
something
actually coming in
pertains to you.
Yeah, like I'm not really
controlling.
Yeah,
£5 million
that
worth
means
of
nothing
property.
to me.
It doesn't
it's
mean
like,
anything.
No, it doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
It's interesting. Don't get me wrong. I would calculate and be like, oh yeah, that's interesting to know. But would I use it as a trophy of mine? No, because it's not real money that's coming into my account. And I mean, it's fine if you want to calculate that for yourself, but I like to pay attention to the things that are going to impact me. Like that doesn't really do anything for me. Like putting that in my bio is just going to attract people that think that you're doing these things and you're actually not.
And I was going to say, like, sadly, there are people who will look at that and be like, oh my God, and then listen to what that person says as Bible. And then what they might be saying or what they might be putting out there is actually, you know, very useful and very, very valuable. But sometimes people will buy into it based off the wrong things.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I feel like the community is hyped up quite a bit as well. I feel like they're like the community. And again, it's like all these things have their pros and cons, right? So I feel like one thing I was told was that your network is your net worth, right?
Yeah.
Which I still believe is 1,000% true. However, the way in which it is brainwashed into you isn't necessarily true.
So explain that for me.
So I feel like they will encourage you to go to networking because your network is your net worth. But it depends on the network that you're going to that is going to make your network your net worth. So for example, there's I won't actually say the name. There's a meeting that happens around all areas, right? I think it's like every Wednesday of the month, or like it might vary depending on your location. And that's the meeting that you're told to go to. And whilst it's a great practice arena, I don't believe by going in there that that's my net worth, because I'm not really connecting with anyone else that's going to bring my net worth up to that standard.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm going to somewhere I've paid £100 for the ticket to get in, that I would like to be my net worth.
Yeah.
Because by the time I enter with those people are probably like 10 years experience senior in front of me, right?
I think what they mean by like that your network is your net worth is basically when you...
It's who you hang around,
who you know, and who trusts you enough to invest in you. So like, again, if you was a multimillionaire and, you know, we've conjured up a relationship that, you know, we've been networking. Do you know what I mean?
But then they say networking is with like-minded people, but I don't actually believe that. I think it's people who are like-minded. Like you can't just think just because you've got networking that everyone in the same space in that space is like-minded with you, because that's not the case. They might have the similar interest of wanting to be in business, but you know how many people I've met at networking events who've been like, yeah, I want to get started this year. I meet them next year at the same flipping meeting, and they haven't started anything. And it's like, so I don't. That's why I'm like a little bit of a. Your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
However, how they tell you to get that network isn't how you're going to get that net worth.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense to me, but I just think not all spaces is where you can calculate your net worth.
Yeah.
I think it's particular spaces and choosing particular people to be a part of your network for that network to really make a difference.
Make a difference.
Because they hone in on going to networking, and networking is important, but not if you're not using it correctly.
Networking is the initial like outreach.
Yeah.
But then obviously you have to nurture and maintain those relationships, and that's what then turns into technically your net worth. Do you know what I mean? Because if you go out to networking events and or whatever and speak to people, and you might forge a good relationship with someone or spark a good relationship with someone, but if you don't follow up on that and nurture it and sometimes have to go out for meals or whatever, then it's just pointless. You may as well have just not met that person. Do you know what I mean? And it's about getting your name out there as well at the same time as well. What would you say is like the lowest point of this entrepreneurial journey, the lowest point that you experienced, do you think?
I don't know if I have a lowest point, because I feel like my mindset has shifted in terms of like experiences. Like I value every experience that we encounter. But I will say the most difficult is trusting people within the business, like within the space. I feel like I find that really hard to trust that people around you are not going to steal your ideas, are not going to try and take advantage of like where you're at, are not going to like share information they're not supposed to share, are not behind closed doors wishing badness on you. I find it really, really hard to trust people within the space. So I don't necessarily think I've got a lowest point. I know the most challenging point was at the beginning of this year. But I don't know now, even looking back, it's like, is that really the lowest point? I'm sure as your business grows,
that's because of growth. The amount of growth that we've done this year is easy, or not easy, but it's the fact that you can look at it and be like, oh, was that actually really a challenging part? Is obviously a testament to how much we've grown this year. Because I'm not gonna lie, that was for me. Not even the start of the year. I think leading up to the winter period, where we were actually calculating some stuff and was like, actually, nothing's really going our way right now, and we're stuck. We can't see a way of progressing past this. Our service accommodations weren't really making money. Our HMOs were just having issue after issue, which meant that we actually weren't making money on that as well. Do you know what I mean? And we didn't know what to do or how. We were tired because we were putting in so much work to have to do these things, and we didn't have time for our personal relationships as well. That was suffering. So it's like there was a lot of things that were happening. Everything we felt was going wrong at that time. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I kind of feel like it's very good now that for you to say that, was that really a bad time or as bad as we thought it was at the time? But it honestly was. It honestly was. Like, it honestly, that was the part where I think we actually, maybe we didn't even say it, but we actually just had to look at ourselves and come up with a way to kind of be like, listen, is this how it ends? Do you know what I mean? And we put our minds together and we were looking at various different ways of trying to get past that challenging bit. And again, that's when we then went on to certain courses and we spoke to certain people, and they gave us very good advice that we could then implement. And a lot of people will get to that point and hear the advice but not actually apply it. And I feel like that's something that we've done very well, which is why we're here where we are, is that we applied what people had said, and we applied it not just word for word, but we actually applied it with some personality so that it actually relates to what we're saying. Or what situation, or what our situation that we're in. Do you know what I mean? So man.
How would you say as well that we have managed to stay like motivated through some of the struggles that we've experienced as well? I have to say, I'm so tired. I don't know what's going on.
Is it the lack of iron? Is it the lack of iron?
There is a deficiency.
I feel like
There is a deficiency.
Is there a fact or a figure that like women naturally just have less iron than men?
We're gonna have to find that one out.
Yeah, because I feel like women are just naturally tired.
Do you know what? It's just work. Like, I remember I was saying to you, I haven't felt like I've needed a nap in the day.
Yeah.
Since God knows how long. But coming back to work, I just feel like my energy levels are just up and down.
Yeah.
I'm so tired. It's not even acceptable.
I hear it.
It's not acceptable.
So
But
once we finish, then you can go
I
for a
can
nap.
nap.
You can go for the sleep. How do we stay motivated? I think before we kept looking forward to what we wanted, and when things were going well, it was great to actually forward plan and look at things that we wanted to get.
I think besides forward planning, sorry to cut you, but besides forward planning, actually doing the things that we said we wanted to do. So I feel like motivation, I feel like it's so nice to say, keep yourself motivated by like drinking 10 liters of water. It's so, like visualize. It is good to say that, but the reality is what kept us motivated is seeing us tick things off our list. So
that's what
if I want to get a car, I'm going to get a car. I can tick that off my list because I want more of those experiences. If I wasn't able to travel a year ago because I had no money and now the business has allowed me to travel, that's going to keep me motivated. So it's actually ticking things that you weren't able to do before, or you were able to do before but not be able to fully enjoy or immerse yourself in the experience, and being able to do them now. Like
exactly. But then looking back and actually rather than again looking forward at things you want to do, looking back and thinking, right, I've done X, Y, and Z. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 like things, and actually being proud of that. And then obviously seeing if you've come through, I don't know, when we've been through some dark times, I feel like looking back and thinking, hold on, there was a time where that dark time before, I felt like we wouldn't get through that, and yet we've gone through that, and we've done that 4 or 5 times. Do you know what I mean? So then why is this going to be any different? Do you know what I mean? We're not people that, if we see no end in sight, we're just gonna be like, well, it was a good run.
We're definitely not quitters.
Do you know what
That's
I mean?
one thing about Sean and I feel like sometimes that's even a hindrance. Like we just don't know when to quit. Like we're just, even like with our Brighton property, just being transparent about that. Like we had huge lows with that property. It's like summer is fantastic in Brighton, but if you don't know how to manage it through the winter, which has been a better winter
100%.
for sure, or cold month, like if you don't know how to manage it, mate, you just end up wanting to give it up. And I feel like we've seen so many people around us giving up their essays, and rightly so. It's the right thing to do when you know you're not making money off it, or you're struggling with the landlord, or you can't progress with it. But Sean and I just don't know how to quit. But I feel like that helps us with our motivation. It's like we never quit before. We didn't quit that time when we thought we couldn't see the end of it. We didn't quit 2 years ago when we found this really, really difficult. So why would we then quit now?
Look at that. That's what
for
that was last year.
Oh wow, yeah.
Look at the occupancy rate for that.
We have blanks. There's like more than 10 days blank.
It was
That's like 15 days. That was like 50% occupancy.
No, less than that.
Oh, there you go.
Even less than that. It was
my glasses. I
it
can't
was
see.
actually horrible.
See?
Looking at it, but then now, Anyway, but you're so right. Like, and we even had so many conversations. Like we even argued about whether we should hand it back and stuff like that. And it's so like we both had the same like opinion of no, let's just get through that period. And it's like, no, I've had enough. And then we switched over. I had said I've had enough, and you said, oh no, we should get through it. But I feel like at the end of the day, because we're not quitters, we just kind of
kept going with it.
We just kept going with it.
I think the biggest thing about motivation, and like people talk about like taking things off, like be grateful, and obviously that's a huge part. Like I feel like without gratitude, how can you maintain the things that you have? But at the same time, tick the things off your list, and then you'll stay motivated. If you don't want to lose that flashy car that you just got, you're not going to sit there and be like, all right, let me quit on this. You're going to keep pushing yourself because you know that you've done it before. You can do it again. If it's even like buying your dream home and you've managed to do that and accomplish that through your business, and now you're having a really tricky time and you're struggling to get motivated, you're not going to want to lose that opportunity through that house or whatever you got. Like, just keep ticking things off your list. Keep treating yourself from the business, because it will remind you that the business is fruitful enough to allow you to enjoy certain experiences. If you're not able to do that, you're going to lose the motivation. Don't be tight with money. Spend the money. That's what the money is there for. And I'm not saying crazy. Like we are like seeing money come into the business. We're even a little bit like, whoa. But as soon as we want something, we're getting it. Like we've just spoken about a new camera for vlogging. I know. Like we've spoken about it once. By the second time we speak about it, we're going to get it. And we're not going to think about the price. We even wanted to get something again that will be part of the next update. And my sister was like to me, why wouldn't you guys get this? Like, she was on the phone to us. She was like, and your dad said the same thing.
yeah.
Why wouldn't you guys get this? Like,
Yeah.
you have the funds. What's the issue? So
Yeah.
it's like, don't always restrict yourself. Make smart money moves, but also don't restrict yourself from the enjoyment of your business, because once you see what you
Don't
can
deprive yourself of
enjoy,
good things.
yeah, once you see what you can enjoy from your business, it will remind you to motivate yourself to continue. And that's really the only way. Like, it's not necessarily read 10 books and find the gratitude in this and explore your connection over here. And those things are great. But if you really want to get up in the morning and find out what drives you, it's going to be seeing that you can enjoy life through your business. And the only way to see that is if you spend the money that is being brought in from your business the right way, but in an enjoyable way as well.
I think there's so many people though out there that will hear that and think, no, there's no way. Like, they're kind of like stuck in the, like, that motive, that the way that you've described it, that's not gonna be the way for everyone. Do you know what I mean? So I'm kind of trying to think how, because there's a lot of people that think, you know, when you're just like, if you're feeling stuck, kind of just do. And it's like, when you say that, a lot of people are probably thinking, well, how, I can't just do, like, it's not
Just
that
do
easy.
it.
It's not that easy.
You can't create
or
a
life's
rule
not
for
that black
everybody
and
else.
white.
It is that black and white. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a real mistake. And I get really pissy when I talk about these conversations, because like, you guys will look for advice, be given advice, and be like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So don't bother then. Just
Yeah.
close your ears. Like, you can't then create a whole new rule for someone who's too scared to jump. If you're too scared to jump, I'm so sorry. Business is not for you.
will
Like, business
stay
is
on the
not for
Titanic.
you. Yeah, literally. Just stay wherever you are at the moment and just let it be what needs to be.
I feel like,
sure.
again, like, life is, a lot of people, I've said this before as well, even with my friends, like, I remember they keep telling me, like, life's not just black and white.
It is.
And I literally said, it is, but
is.
it's us as humans that mix the
Yeah.
pot and create the grey areas.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's like literally just, yes, there are many things that you can throw in, and many what ifs, and my
It's like
situation
if someone
is
stole from a
different.
bank. Like if someone
yeah.
stole from a bank to give to the needy, yes, we can understand why it could be interpreted as something that was a positive thing to do. But at the same time, if we're looking black and white, it was wrong.
Yeah,
And yes,
yeah,
they
yeah.
should serve time for it.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
stole
yeah,
from the bank.
100%.
But it's like, we as humans confuse things because we have the ability to think about feelings and emotions and context and, you know, a person's wider situation.
Why they did it.
Yeah, why they didn't,
who it benefited.
Exactly.
And things like that.
Exactly.
But it's like, if you
But
actually
really
strip
is.
all of that away and just get back to the main point, which
Yeah.
is, listen, if you're feeling stuck, just do.
Yeah.
Just do. It might not even make sense at the beginning, but just do. And then at some point, something's going to click in your mind. Because you've got motion,
Yeah.
something's going to click in your mind that, right, you know what, let's, you will then know which direction to kind of go in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that just brings me on to, like, anybody who is too frightened to jump, this is not for you. But for anyone who is very interested in making a move that's going to shake them up a little bit but get them the best results, then you guys should definitely be speaking with us. And we know that we can wholeheartedly support you guys because we've done it time and time again. And I'm proud to say where we're at in our business. And I know that in 5 years' time, when I look back, I'll even be shocked that I've been proud at this moment, because the next 5 years will be amazing. And so if you are looking to start making a difference for your own self and grow in your own personal development, make money through property, and grow your portfolio and become successful within that, we are the right people for you. So make sure that you contact us via our email, which is info@homeunitgroup.co.uk. And we will definitely support you guys in making that huge step to becoming a professional property entrepreneur as well. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch up with you next time.
In a bit. Thank you for watching to the end, guys. We really appreciate it. As a little thank you gift to you, we would like to give you an invite to join our free WhatsApp community where we drop a lot of gems.
If you're still watching, then thank you so much. But more importantly, if you could like and subscribe to this channel to help us bring you more content that we know you'll just love.